Good day. This is Tab with another message for you. You ever heard of a guy named Bob Dylan? Maybe some of you have. Back in 1964, yes, that was a few years before my birthday too. 1964, he wrote a song entitled "The Times They Are a Changin'." In the US, it peaked at number 20 on the music charts. In the UK, made it up to number 5 at the time. There have been so many artists perform this song because it made such a tremendous social statement. And off the top of my head, Springsteen, Phil Collins. I even saw a video of Tracy Chapman performing the song. I think Tracy Chapman is a wonderful artist. The gist of the song is this. It's sink or swim time, folks. There are things happening in our world right outside our door. Out with the old, in with the new. If you stand still, you'll get run over. And if you think about it, there were very important things happening in our country and in our world at the time. Again, this is 1964. The Surgeon General, Luther Terry, made the first ever public statement that smoking may be hazardous to one's health. The first Beatles album was released, which started what was referred to as the British invasion. There was increased intensity in the conflict in Vietnam, and people started burning their draft cards here in America. Civil rights workers were murdered in Mississippi. Walt Disney's movie Mary Poppins made its world premiere in Los Angeles in 1964. There was a race riot in Philadelphia. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. became the youngest recipient at the time of the Nobel Peace Prize. You remember the stop-motion animation movie Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer? It first aired this year in 1964. Lyndon Johnson was elected president, and remember, John Kennedy was assassinated November 22nd, the year before, 1963. The U.S. Supreme Court ruled that in accordance with the Civil Rights Act of 1964, establishments providing public accommodations must refrain from racial discrimination. Okay, so what does all this have to do with us now in the year 2015? We are at a turning point in our social dynamic. The U.S. Supreme Court just the other day ruled that same-sex marriage is a right nationwide. This is an argument that's been bouncing off the walls of courthouses around the country for a number of years now. The U.S. Supreme Court has spoken. But wait a minute. According to the Constitution, the U.S. Supreme Court does not have the authority to legislate. Chief Justice Roberts wrote, "Celebrate the achievement of a desired goal. Celebrate the opportunity for a new expression of commitment to a partner. Celebrate the availability of new benefits. But do not celebrate the Constitution. It had nothing to do with it." And you know, he's right. Marriage is not in the U.S. Constitution. The duty of the U.S. Supreme Court is to determine the validity of arguments presented to them, the justices, as compared to the U.S. Constitution. The majority decision that was made was based on gratifying special interest rather than determining someone's true rights in this country. Another thing is certain. If you didn't see this coming, you haven't been paying attention. This has been the goal of people in power for centuries, in order to facilitate ridding the world of that pesky U.S. Constitution and begin to dismantle the Christian church and usher in the New World Order. Anyone who watches the news has already seen the indecent public displays of gay people celebrating the unconstitutional action of the Supreme Court. This is only going to get worse, folks. Homosexual interest has been thrust into every aspect of our public systems, including our schools. It's only a matter of time before they usurp our very churches. This has already been made easier for them because of certain congregations and denominations allowing homosexual practice into the life of the church. I have known homosexuals who do not condone public display of depravity by anybody, including homosexuals. If you've ever seen a gay rights parade, you know exactly what I'm referring to. But they're told, either you're with us or you're against us. There's no middle ground here. So what do we do as faithful believers? Should we jump on board the God hates fags train? I still contend that is not biblical. Matthew chapter 7, verses 1 and 2. Do not judge, lest you be judged. For in the way you judge, you will be judged. And by your standard of measure, it will be measured to you. Matthew chapter 5, verses 44 and 45. But I say to you, love your enemies and pray for those who persecute you, so that you may be sons of your Father who's in heaven. For he makes sun rise on the evil and on the good, and sends rain on the just and on the unjust. Again, Matthew chapter 5, but verses 11 and 12. Blessed are you when others revile you and persecute you and utter all kinds of evil against you falsely on my account. And this is Jesus speaking. Rejoice and be glad, for your reward is great in heaven. For so they persecuted the prophets who were before you. What we should do is keep moving forward, maintain our faith through the struggle. God has allowed sinful governments and people to have their way on this earth. I've said before in another video that we may very well be in the end times or quickly approaching. Don't give up your faith because a person or group of people decide to call you names or worse. And yes, it's going to get worse. Romans chapter 1, beginning with verse 24. Therefore God gave them up in the lusts of their hearts to impurity, to the dishonoring of their bodies among themselves, because they exchanged the truth about God for a lie, and worshipped and served the creature rather than the Creator, who is blessed forever. Amen. For this reason, God gave them up to dishonorable passions. For their women exchanged natural relations for those that are contrary to nature. And the men likewise gave up natural relations with women and were consumed with passion for one another, men committing shameless acts with men, and receiving in themselves the due penalty for their error. Verse 28. And since they did not see fit to acknowledge God, God gave them up to a debased mind, to do what ought not to be done. They were filled with all manner of unrighteousness, evil, covetousness, malice. They were full of envy, murder, strife, deceit, maliciousness. They are gossips, slanderers, haters of God, insolent, haughty, boastful, inventors of evil, disobedient to parents, foolish, faithless, heartless, ruthless. Verse 32. Though they know God's righteous decree that those who practice such things deserve to die, they not only do them, but they give approval to those who practice them. What a sad state for our world to be in. But that's humanity. That's human depravity and turning away from God. And it's about to get a lot worse, as I said. Stay the course. The devil rules this world, but we can overcome through Christ. And we will be rewarded by Christ in the end. Stay the course. Until next time, peace in Jesus Christ.